Hey guys, welcome. Amy Crane, Social Loud Marketing here. So yesterday when we did our webinar live, there was an issue with the recording. So if you got the email yesterday and you tried to go watch and you got an error message, don't worry, it wasn't your fault. It was an issue on my end. So the replay link didn't work, and I got a lot of requests of people that wanted to watch it. So I'm going to re-record this for you guys so you can watch it. Hopefully there won't be any issues this time. You got to love technology, right? So this week we talked all about Facebook reporting and tracking. I know it's super fun, super exciting, but you need to know your numbers when it comes to advertising and what's working and what's not, and which numbers are important to pay attention to and which ones you can kind of, they're not a big deal. You don't really need to keep an eye on them. So that's what we're going to cover this week. We've got 30 minutes and I've got a lot to cover. So we're just going to dive right in. So reporting and tracking. When I started with Facebook ads, I loved setting up the ads, creating the images, the copy. I thought all of that was fun. But then when my ads were running and I was trying to figure out what was working, that's usually where I got really frustrated, because I would see all these different numbers and I really had no idea what they meant. Was I supposed to look at click-through, reach? I mean, what did all these numbers mean and how did they work together? So I know I went out to YouTube to try to figure out, what I was supposed to be looking for. And I watched this video, and this guy was creating this crazy Excel spreadsheet. I mean, it was column after column of numbers and metrics, and he's highlighting stuff, and it's got different pages. And I shut it down. I was like, no, there's no way it should be this complicated, because I feel like I'm getting ready to do a report for school and I'm going to get a grade on it. Like, it shouldn't be that complicated. So the good news is it's not that complicated. And after you get a couple ad campaigns under your belt, you'll start to see how the numbers move and change, and it becomes a little bit easier to figure out what you should focus on. But there are still certain numbers that I always go to when I'm running an ad to see how well it's performing. And there are other numbers that I never even look at, to be honest with you. So I'm going to walk you through the numbers you want to keep an eye on and what you can kind of ignore. I'm also going to pop over to Facebook so we can take a look at their reporting tool, which is really cool. There's a ton of information in here. So if you are a numbers person and you love to geek out over Excel spreadsheets and reports, you are going to be in heaven. There's so much information in here. It's really cool, really powerful. So we're going to walk through that too. So I just want to kind of make a quick note here. If you feel like the reporting and the tracking part of it is overwhelming, don't worry, you're not the only one. The thing is, you'll get, like I said, when you run a couple campaigns, you'll start to see how the numbers move and change as your ads are either taking off and they're performing really well, or maybe they're not and they're slowly kind of starting to tank. The thing is, get comfortable with the basics. Just get comfortable looking at, the basic numbers, get that under your belt so you feel comfortable with that. And then you can take it to the next level, because there is so much information in Facebook advertising, and you don't necessarily need to know it all at once and right at the beginning. So just get comfortable with it, get some traffic to your site, get your list going, that kind of good stuff. And then once you're comfortable with that, then you can go and start digging around and really playing with the numbers a little bit more. So don't feel like you've got to tackle this all at once and you have to have all these crazy spreadsheets so you know exactly what your ads are doing. It's really not, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Okay, so Facebook reporting and tracking. So paying attention to the right numbers will help you understand which ads are performing best. So Facebook gives us a lot of information. When you log in, there's a couple of different columns. There's a bunch of different numbers. Some are big, some are little. So what do you pay attention to? That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to tell you which numbers I really pay attention to and the ones that I never look at. So not all metrics are the same. You want to pay attention to the ones that matter. So my number one metric that I always pay attention to, it's the first number that I look at when I log into my reports, cost per action. That's the number one thing I need to know. How many people am I converting and how much am I paying to convert them? That's a pretty good indicator of how well your ads are doing. So if you are trying to build your email list and you sign in and you're spending $10 in email, that's probably a little high. If you're down at $2, that's okay. You can probably, depending on your niche or your market, you might have some room to tweak and make your ads even more effective. So cost per action for me is one of those that I always pay attention to. Click-through rate, I look at, but I don't put a lot of weight on click-through rate. And here's why. So you can have an ad with a really high click-through rate that's not converting. So maybe you have a lot of people that are clicking, liking, and commenting on your post, but they're not actually clicking your ad to go sign up. So it's not converting. So sure, you might have a 5% click-through rate, but if no one's converting, that means absolutely nothing. And this is kind of one of my pet peeves when I hear, these Facebook marketing gurus or whatever, and they go on and on and on about the reach of their campaign and the click-through rate of their campaign. To me, those numbers mean absolutely nothing. I don't care if you're reaching 500 million people. If your ads aren't converting, that number means nothing. So it's one of those numbers that I never pay attention to. I don't think it means anything. It doesn't have any effect on how well my ads are performing. So I never look at it. So that's one of those numbers that you don't necessarily need to pay attention to. And if you hear somebody going on and on about reach, I always just kind of roll my eyes and go the other way because, like I said, that is not a good indicator of a great ad campaign. So click-through rate, same thing. If you've got a high click-through rate and you've got a low cost per action, you're probably on the right track. You've got an ad that's working pretty well. But you can't use click-through rate on its own as a metric to determine whether or not your ads are working. Another number I like to look at are actions. I'm going to show you where to find this. Actions will start to break down how many people are clicking to go to your website, how many people are converting. It'll also tell you how many people have liked that post or they've liked your page. So it starts to break down all the different actions. I'm going to show you how I use this when I've got an ad that's already running and I'm trying to make it a little bit better. We'll walk through that too. So before you do anything, make sure your conversion pixels are set up and working. I'm not going to have time to walk you through this today, but I do have another video on YouTube where I walk you through how to set up your conversion pixels. So your conversion pixels, it's a little piece of code that you drop on your thank you page or your confirmation page, whatever page people land on after they've signed up or they've purchased. That last page that says, thank you for signing up, or, here's your confirmation number for your purchase, whatever that page is. So every time someone hits that page, Facebook is able to track that and it counts as a conversion. So it's able to tell you, you had 10 conversions today and you were spending $1 per conversion. So that's why it's really important to have those conversion pixels set up. If you don't have them set up, you're not going to have that cost per action. And that, like I said, that's my #1 metric that I pay attention to. So if you don't have that set up, you're missing a big piece of the picture. You could do it manually. Back in the day before conversion pixels, you'd kind of have to figure out, okay, well, I spent this much today and I got this many conversions. You'd have to, break out your calculator if you wanted to figure it out. But Facebook just does it all for you now. So get those conversion pixels set up so they're in place, they're working, and you can start to track your cost per action. Okay, so here's just a quick screenshot that I took of a campaign I was running a while ago. I ran it in August and I stopped it, and then I ran it again in November, December. So when you log into your ads manager, it'll pop up with a list, of all your campaigns you've got running. You select your campaign, you go in. So I just pulled the best performing ad. This is the ad that I kept running. You've got your nice little graph that shows you, how many people are signing up, or your opt-ins, your conversions. So let's kind of break down what all of these numbers mean. I'm going to go across the top first. So your conversions, that's pretty straightforward. That's how many people converted in this campaign. Your reach, like I said, it's a pretty pointless number. This one's at 40,000. That's cool, but that doesn't really tell me anything. Like I said, I don't care if I'm reaching 500,000 people. If no one's converting, the ad's not working. Frequency is one that I get asked about a lot. Frequency basically is how many times people will see your ad. So I'm at 1.47. So people are going to see my ads, once, maybe twice. So your frequency, usually this number's in between 1 and 2. If it starts to get up like 3 and 4, people are seeing your ad, a couple times. And if they're not converting, it might be time to swap that ad out. But frequency on its own isn't, a metric that you can just look at and say, yes, this ad's working or it's not working. But just know that that's how many times people are seeing your ad. Your total spent, that's pretty straightforward. That's how much you've spent on the ad. Your average cost per conversion. So this is a good number to look at. Now, up at the top, this is for the whole campaign or for this ad set. So every ad in here that I paused that wasn't performing as well, that was the cost per action was a little bit higher, is included in the 72 cents per conversion. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that number. So now let's come down to where our actual ad is. So this was an ad. It was just a list build. It was to get people on my list, a free PDF. So you've got your status, you've got the name of your computer, delivery. Obviously, this ad's turned off. I haven't ran it since December. So now let's get into the good stuff. Results, 402 conversions. So that's how many I set it up to track my conversions. So I've had 402 of those at a cost of 69 cents per conversion. Hopefully you guys can see this. I know it might be a little bit small. So 69 cents per conversion, I'm pretty happy with that number, right? That's a pretty low number to have people sign up for your email list. So pretty excited about that. So right off the bat, this seems like a good ad, okay? Conversion value. We're not really going to dive into this too much today. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we really kind of dive into the numbers and metrics a little bit more another week. But just so you know, your conversion value, and I actually didn't have it. I didn't think I had it set up on this ad. I don't know why I would have, but your conversion value, if you are selling something, product, service, whatever, if this is an ad and you're driving people to check out, when you set up your conversion pixel, you can actually add the cost or the amount of the item that you're selling. This way, you can track what you're spending versus what you're selling. So you know if your ads are performing, if you're getting enough people to convert at the right cost to keep your ads going. So like I said, if you're selling something, this is a really powerful tool for you to use. So it just gives you that next step, that next level of tracking to know if you're spending too much money to get people to convert to a customer. But like I said, I didn't have that set up on this one because it was just a list build. I wasn't selling anything on the back end of it. Reach, 36, not even going to pay attention to that. Frequency, again, that's 1.47. Clicks, I'm going to come back to. I'm going to explain that a little bit more. So let's just jump straight to click-through rate. Your click-through rate, like I said, you can keep an eye on it, but it's by no means an indication of whether or not a campaign is performing. Like I said, I've seen campaigns where it's a really high click-through rate just because people are clicking and liking. Maybe they just like the picture or the photo, but they're not converting. So it's a total waste of time, right? You need to stop that ad. Typical click-through rates, though, just to give you an idea, if you are running ads on the right-hand side, usually they're about 1-2%. So they're pretty low if you're running ads on the right-hand side. People just don't, seem to click on those as much. If you're running your ads in the newsfeed, usually click-through rates are a little bit higher, 2% up to 4, 5, 6%. So if you're getting a lot of engagement, a lot of interaction on your ad, you'll see a higher click-through rate. But like I said, you want to make sure that they're converting. So click-through rate's good, but just make sure that that cost per action is where you want it so that you're not just spending money getting people to like and share your post. You actually want them to do something, take action. Okay, so these are the main numbers you're going to see when you come into your ads manager. So like I said, the number I go to first is my cost per action. I'll take a look at my click-through rate. And once I've got my ads up and going, they've been running for a little while, I always like to go in and look at clicks. And this is where Facebook starts to give you a little bit more information. So if you just click, so this ad's called computer and tech. So if I were to click on that, if we were actually in Facebook and I clicked on that, it would drop down the image of my ad and the copy and everything. So you'd see the actual ad. And then if you look over to the right, you're going to see a little breakdown that says actions. And this is where it starts to break down those different clicks. So I had 1,900 total actions. And then it's going to break down. It's going to tell you how many of these were actual website clicks, how many were registrations, how many page likes. So we had 1,200 website clicks, 400 registrations, 130 page likes, and then 193 other actions. So other actions would be post likes, post shares, post comments. So this is what's interesting. I'm not really concerned about the page likes and the other actions. Like, that's cool. It's cool to get some page likes out of it, but that's not my main goal. What I want to look at, I want to keep an eye on the website clicks and the registrations. And here's why. I want to make sure after my ads have been running for a while, they're converting, I'm really happy with them. The next step is to take my ads and make them even better. So what can I do to make this ad a little bit better? Well, the first thing I'm going to look at is my opt-in page. How well is my opt-in page converting? Can I make some changes there so the conversion's higher on my sign-up page? So 1,200 website clicks and 400 registrations. It's a little over a 30% opt-in rate, which that's okay. It's definitely not great, right? It's a good start. So just looking at these numbers, I know I can probably go in and tweak and play with my opt-in page to make it convert even better. Now, these numbers, you don't want to just go by these numbers alone. Sometimes Facebook's numbers get a little funky and they're a little off. So you can pull your numbers from Google Analytics if you've got that set up. If you're using something like Lead Pages, I know they've got an analytics tool in there as well. So you can pull your numbers from a couple different places. Like I said, if they don't match up, that's okay. Most of the time they don't. There's a little, one's higher, one's lower, whatever. But pull the numbers and see, that they're at least close. And then you'll get a good idea of how well, like I said, your opt-in page is converting, your webinar sign-up page is converting, or your product page. Are people more likely to buy if the page is laid out this way, or are they more likely to buy if it's laid out the other way? So this is something I do after the ads have been running for a little while. So a lot of people, and I see this a lot, and I have conversations with people, is that they just get crazy with their ads and they start tweaking and testing everything at once. And that doesn't work. You'll never know what's working if you do it that way. So this is why it's so important to establish that baseline. So get your ads up and working, right? And if your ads aren't working, you only want to change one thing at a time, right? So if you feel like the copy is really strong, maybe you just test out a different image or you test out a different targeting group, but you don't test them all at the same time, right? Or if you do, you've got them in different ad sets. So people will just start to test everything, and it's like they've got their ads up and going for a couple of days and they want to start playing with their opt-in page and they want to start tweaking that. The thing is, you've got to give it some time. You need to see the numbers a little bit. And then this also too depends on your budget and how much traffic you're driving to the sign-up page or the sales page, whatever it is. But once you have these numbers, then you can start to go and tweak. And so I was able to go back into my opt-in page. I tweaked it a little bit, came back, redid my ads. So when I did my ads, you notice that these ads stopped in December. So I created a completely different ad set so I could test out the new opt-in page. So if you keep making changes to the same ad, so if I just went in and changed that ad, your numbers get all mixed in together and they're mixed in with the old numbers. So it's hard to get a clear picture of what's working. So anytime you make a change, you need to create a new ad or a new ad set depending on what you've changed. So this is just an example how you can take it a little bit deeper. You can start to play with the numbers a little bit more to see what else you can tweak or change up for your ads. And this is a pretty simple one. So get your ads up and going, see how they're working, give them some time to run, and then come in here and start playing with these numbers and see what kind of breakdown you're getting and how many people are actually clicking on your ad and going to your website. All right, so now we are going to pop over to Facebook. So let me pull up Facebook for you guys. We're going to walk through the reporting and tracking tool that they've got. Let's give this a second to pop up. Okay, cool. All right, so when you go over to Ads Manager, if you come over here to the left-hand side, see campaigns, pages. I'm just in reports, so just click reports. So here's the really cool thing with Facebook ads reporting is you've got all of these numbers, all of these different reports you can pull, so you can start to play with the numbers a little bit more. So when you come in, it's going to list every single campaign that you've been running for the last 7 days. I just narrowed this down to one campaign just to use as an example. So I just pulled a weekly webinar series. It's an ad that I'm running for this week for the webinar. So you'll see when you come in here, okay, there's all these crazy numbers, right? Reach, frequency, impressions, clicks, unique clicks, click-through rate, unique click-through rate, amount spent, cost per, I mean, it just like it goes on and on and on. And I can tell you right now, 90% of these numbers mean nothing. I don't think I've ever looked at cost per 1,000 impressions or, you know, unique click-through rate. Like that just doesn't, that number doesn't really mean, that's not going to help me figure out if my ads are working, right? So I've never pulled an ad and said, oh, well, my cost per 1,000 impressions is this, so I probably need to stop this ad. So I feel like there are other numbers that give you a better picture, better idea of whether or not your ads are working. So the cool thing you can do, you can customize these columns. Now there's a lot in here. So this is where I'm telling you it gets kind of crazy, and you can create a crazy spreadsheet if you want to. So over here on the right-hand side, your 15 columns selected. These are the columns that are showing up on the report right now. If you want to come through and just X these out, you can. You can also go through this list and select the ones that you want to show up, or it's like the ones that you don't. So I'm going to go through these really, really fast, but pull up your reports, go through them, take some time, look at them, and just see all the numbers that are in here. And if there are numbers that you think would be helpful for you to determine if your campaign's working. So we've got our basics to start with: reach, frequency, impressions, social reach, social impressions, actions, people taking action. So these are people that are liking, clicking, sharing your ad. You also have the cost, so you can break down the cost per 1,000 people reach, cost per 1,000 impressions, amount spent. So if you want to keep that, if you're trying to stay on budget, you want to keep an eye on your numbers. Then you've got engagement. So these are all of the actions that people could take. So if you want to see how many page likes you got as a result of an ad that you're running. So the ad that I just shared with you, I had 130 page likes. So if I wanted to see, you know, how many post likes I got, I could pull that number. You can also, so you'll see there's a lot of options in here: website clicks, offer claims, check-ins, page mentions, lots of stuff. You can also break it down by cost. So, you know, we already know that the ad I showed you, I was getting 69 cents per email, but I could see, you know, I could do cost per page like to see what I was paying for the 130 page likes that I got to my page too. So this is where you would break that down. So cost per engagement, per post like, per post comment, all these options. Website or video action. So video ads are a big deal. Facebook started to roll these out. People are starting to use video ads. So if you are using video ads, this would be the place where you'd want to come so you can start to track a little bit more. You'll see how long people are watching your video. Did they watch 25%, 50%, 75%? So there's some really cool numbers in here you can come and play with. And then, of course, you can break it down by cost. Website conversions, this is where, you know, most of us are going to be hanging out. So you can track how many conversions you had, whether it's a checkout, registration, leads, key web page views. When you set up your conversion pixel, you get to select if you want it to track as a checkout, a registration, a lead. So whatever you've set that up as, you would just come in here and check and say leads. if that's what you select it as. And then you can break it down by cost per action. So now you'll have the total, and now you'll see how much you actually paid for each action. So cost per website conversion, that's a pretty good number to know. Here's your conversion value. So if you set up that conversion value when you were creating your pixel, you would use these options. There's a lot of options too for apps. I'm not really going to go through these since I don't think most of us are using apps. But if you are, this is where you would find the information there. And of course, you've got your clicks. If you want to see clicks, unique clicks, social clicks, unique click-through rate, all of that information's here. I'm not super concerned with that. So that's it. There's a lot of options in here, right? So you can clean this up. I took mine down to 3 columns. Easy breezy. If I wanted to get crazy and select a lot of stuff, then I could. So you'll see here, it's easy. So this 29 leads, and I spent $1.07 to get these leads signed up. So that just makes it easy. It clears it out. Now this is pretty similar to what you see when you just log in to your ads manager. So you don't necessarily need to come over here to pull reports like this. But here's where it gets good, and here's where there's some really cool stuff that you can play around with. So right now we're just in general metrics. If you come up here to the left-hand side, click this drop-down menu. We've got a couple different options here. So general metrics, that's where we just were. We can select responder demographics, and this is going to tell us, it's going to break down male and female who's responding to your ads, and then what age group they're in. This ad set was just running for female, so obviously it's just going to pull the female. Sorry, guys. But it's going to break it down by age. So if you were targeting male and female, it would say, male 18 to 24, male 25 to 34. So you can come in here and you can tell where the majority of your actions are coming from. Is it coming from guys? Is it coming from girls? What age group are they in? So this is helpful, especially if you work with a specific demographic. Maybe you work with women 35 and older. You can come in here and make sure that that's who's responding to your ads, that you're getting interaction from those people. It's also just interesting to see, what groups are responding more to your ads. So there's some cool information here. So this is where you would find male, female, and what age group they're in. Next up, we've got geographics. So this is going to break it down based on obviously where they live. I stick to targeting the US, Australia, Canada, and the UK. So those are the only countries that I target. So it's going to break it down where most of my actions are coming from, and they're coming from the US. Makes sense? So that's good to know. So you can come in here and see where the majority of your fans, your website clicks, whatever your ad is set up for, you can figure out where they're coming from. Next, placement-based metrics. This is a good number to know. So this is what's interesting. So you've got your options: newsfeed, newsfeed on desktop, newsfeed on mobile, right side ads. The thing that I see, it's almost true for every single campaign that I'm running, is that everything's coming from mobile. Everyone, they're on their phones, they're on their tablets. So if you are driving traffic to a website, you need to make sure that it's optimized for mobile. Make it as easy as possible for people that are using their phones, using their iPhones to sign up, to buy, whatever it is. You need to make it super, super easy for them to use their phones. I know I always get super annoyed when I click on something and I go to some crazy looking website that I can't use on my phone, and I'm having to, scroll in and figure out what I'm looking for and clicking on buttons. Just make it easy, because I can guarantee you most of your traffic is coming from mobile. You'll see almost all of my traffic is coming from mobile devices. So that's good to know though, right? So every site that I send them to, I make sure that it looks good on mobile. So when I'm designing my opt-in pages, I make sure that it lines up, that it's clear, it's easy, and it works on iPhones, Android, whatever. I don't care, but it needs to work on mobile. So that's where you will find that information. Facebook page action, so you can start to see how many page likes you got, all of that good stuff. And then you've also got video actions, website conversions. So this will tell you actually how many conversions you had. So you've got, it's going to break it down by conversions, checkouts. It'll tell you how much it costs, all of that good stuff. So you can dive in a little bit deeper there. Application devices. So if you're running ads for an app, this is where you would come to find more, kind of dig in. Since I'm not running an app, these numbers aren't really going to show anything. And then cross device. So this is going to break down whether they're using an iPhone, an Android, you know, what type of device they're using, a tablet, iPad, whatever. So if you're interested in that, if that is going to help you create better ad campaigns, you would find that information there. Okay, so I know we went through all of this super, super fast. It's a lot of information. So my biggest tip is just, you know, go play with it. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't think you've got to pull crazy reports, but just kind of start to play with the numbers, just go poke around, see what you've got, see what you like, see what kind of jumps out at you. But by any means, you do not need to go pull crazy reports all the time. So figure out the numbers that you need to pay attention to and then just focus on those numbers. That's probably my biggest, you know, tip I can give you guys. I know exactly what numbers I'm looking for, and those are the only numbers that I pay attention to. So, you know, website conversions or my conversions, my cost per action, things like that. That's what I really, really focus on when I'm running ad campaigns. But go in there, play around a little bit and see what you can find. I guarantee you'll find some cool pieces of information that maybe you didn't think of before, or maybe there's a certain group that's responding to your ads that you didn't consider. So play around with it. Okay, so that's it. We covered a lot in 30 minutes. So if you guys have questions, you can always send me an email, hello@sociallabmarketing.com. You can also post them to the Facebook page. I'm always checking it out. So if you've got comments or questions, you can post them there. All right, so that's it for this week. We will be back next Tuesday. Hopefully our replay link will be working. So keep an eye on your inbox. I'll send out all the details on Tuesday. So until then, I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I will see you next week.